Hey everyone, we have Leslie with us today. The topic for today is very interesting because I'm sure, like me, a lot of people did not really think about what customer evidence is. So we're going to talk about how customer evidence can drive your GTM success. Welcome, Leslie. Leslie is a customer marketing expert, a startup advisor with over a decade of experience. She's the recipient of the top 100 CMA Influencer Award three times and
Mhm.
helps top martech brands to scale with proven strategies. Leslie, welcome to the podcast, and we are really excited to have you here.
Thank you. I love hearing introduction about myself. It's my favorite part.
Right. So, two things, right? Like, first thing, what is exactly customer evidence? What does it mean? What is its important to go-to-market motions? Can you share some examples of the same?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like a lot of buzzwords out there. We can tackle all those to set the stage here. But so I think you've heard like customer evidence, customer voice, customer centricity. And it's like, what are all of these? So we'll kick it off with let's just start with customer voice and servicing that up. It's kind of what I love to do, what I'm great at. But this, refers to the collection of just insights and opinions, needs, preferences, feedbacks from your customers, right? So these are often gathered through surveys and interviews and NPS scores, maybe some social media comments, and reviews, right? So these customer voice could be qualitative and quantitative data. They can be like anecdotal or data driven, whatever, but they're used to understand the customer needs and their pain points in order to inform your everyone at the company, product, CS, support, and improve kind of like everything that happens. And then also you can, tailor your marketing messages a little bit better with all of this survey data or just data in general, because it's easier to collect, because it's not, tied to hard metrics or anything. But customer evidence, on the flip side, is more like that tangible proof that your product or platform delivers value, right? So this includes like those customer testimonials with metrics. So really showcasing the impact of your solution. So that's like hard ROI, increased productivity, cost savings, time savings. So just like really strong concrete examples. And this really serves for proof points during the buyer's journey to drive those conversions. So of course, customer evidence, that's what sales wants, right? Like the customer voice is nice and it's great and it's a total necessity to have a customer-centric company, but the customer evidence piece is really what's going to move the needles.
Would NPS be part of customer evidence then?
Sorry, say that again.
Like Net Promoter Score, NPS?
It could be. I mean, you rarely get a comment, right? So NPS, Net Promoter Score. How likely are you to recommend X platform to a colleague? 1
Right.
through 10. They're going to say rarely they'll be like 10 because I saw, and then they'll just give the entire case study inside of the NPS. And then, NPS is connected to Slack, and then the whole company sees it and they're like, Leslie, get on it. And you're like, okay, I will. So that rarely happens, but when it does, it's a beautiful moment.
Right. And then, so what are some of the metrics you track in customer evidence? Like, love the concept of saying, hey, let's go metric driven, no fluff. So what are some of those, like, how would you define, like, okay, let's track these metrics for customer success?
I mean, my gosh, it ranges so crazy between what each platform, can deliver on. But yeah, so like just of course, everyone wants to be able to get their money back, especially now if they're like investing in software. Like that's going to be a huge thing to go back and to calculate the ROI of their department, that they had a return on your particular software. Don't worry, it's paying for itself. We have to renew with them. So that's huge. As I mentioned, you know, I like it's a little bit more of a softer metric, but like that time savings or the increased productivity, it's like it's hard
Right.
to measure because you need to know that metric before you implemented the new solution in
Right.
order to show that. And you could just, guess, but it's a powerful one because time is money.
Right. And you were talking about, like, when we had spoken earlier, you talked about like engagement metrics like views, downloads, conversion rates, sales cycle length, like,
Mhm.
those kind of metrics, pipeline velocity, right? Like, can you talk a little bit more about those?
Yeah, I think we're gonna get into those in a little bit. But yeah, the definitely the deal velocity is going to build. So all of this builds trust with your prospects, and when you combine that with implementing an advocacy program with a reference program, and you're seeing all of this customer voice, all of this customer evidence, and then you're getting on a call with an actual customer just to like drive that home, then you're seeing these deals close way faster.
Right.
And it, you know this is just a sliver of customer marketing, the customer evidence piece of it. But there are ways to calculate like the influence deals and the acceleration of the deals within each of these customer marketing programs, such as case studies and references, referrals, all that.
Can you share a real life example of any company from your portfolio? What worked for them in their GTM motion? How did you drive growth for them? Like, anything on that? Because we saw that you advise companies as well.
I see two types of people coming in. One is like, I have so many happy customers that I need to activate them and get their voice and this evidence uh, to the market and up in front. And then I have folks who are like, I don't really, we're struggling with product adoption. And so, like, can you, despite having like a bunch of features, we're struggling with low product adoption. So, with that one, I usually come in and I will go through the entire customer journey and build it with them, right? Like something's missing there. Um, so implement like a customer survey journey too. So just starting that customer voice, right? I'm not asking for hard metrics right at the beginning with starting with these customers, right? But I do want to hear from them. And a lot of the time customers do want to give their feedback. So implementing that, customer survey journey or feedback loop is great. Then we go into kind of like reassessing their onboarding programs,
Mhm.
and just kind of seeing what are the follow-ups after meeting with the onboarding team or CSM and what that whole journey looks like. And then we'll go ahead and like deploy some customer evidence campaigns. So that is it's kind of in the same at the same time as a building a customer advocacy program, because you want to have that pipeline of advocates who are seeing success with your platform in order to deploy these customer evidence campaigns. So like you're highlighting early adopters, their success stories, you're holding webinars showcasing best practices, and you're really creating that like FOMO, the fear of missing out, and
Yeah.
that urgency. And so this particular company I was working for increased their product adoption by 40%, which I thought was pretty amazing. And then there was a reduce in churn. So around the like, I think it was like 18%. So it was just, pretty great just to go in and find kind of like low-hanging fruit, and also get a pulse on your customer base through those feedback loops and those surveys. Everyone wants to, hear about what their customers are thinking. And so to surface that up, you kind of get some kudos like really early when you're working with companies.
Right, right. Oh, that's great. And do you like have a playbook or something for this customer-centric marketing?
Um, yeah, I mean, it all blends together. So I wrote a book called Account-Based Customer Marketing, which has a pretty massive playbook in it. I think like 55 pages worth of plays. But to sum it up, in each play, it's just first starting out with that customer research. Um, I'm a big fan of interviews. If you can't, I understand that people just can't book calls with customers all day long and get all of these interviews. So there are ways to do it at scale. There are, definitely, with AI and all these fancy tools out there, you can make it as easy as possible for the customer to give you that feedback through a video on their own time. There's a bunch of little secrets that us customer marketers use, but like focus groups and surveys and all that stuff. So do the research, and then you go ahead and like segment them. So creating like those detailed personas and segment the audience based on behaviors inside of the tool. So you're collecting all that. And then everybody, everyone, if you take the B2B model, everything is personalized. Everything, all these Google ads, everything's coming at you that you want. Why would you be marketing to customers with just, a blanket statement? You have to get like pretty personalized and highly targeted into each of these segments, right?
And how do you do that? How do you get personalized into these segments?
Yeah, I mean, if it just depends what stage company you are. I mean, it's gonna be really, really hard to do if you don't have any resources. But it always is, and this is my playbook too. It's always like start small, do a pilot, do a little beta, like get these. Just start with what you got and what you can get, and what you got to test and all of this stuff. I'm probably not dropping any knowledge that these people listening don't even already know, but just start small. And one of my customers at Sendoso, Adam May, his whole job was testing. He worked at a big enterprise company. So, but yeah, it was testing these campaigns and showing what works and then rolling it out to the larger group of customers. And I thought that was the coolest job. Like you just get to try things. Like that's awesome. And then, yeah, multi-channel engagement now, like emails are just not going to cut it, baby. So reaching them through their preferred channels. And so this is also like market survey information that you need to take into account. Like who's your target persona and where do they live most of the time? If I'm marketing to marketers, then I know they're on social media as well. So that's where I'm going to go and set up some retargeting ads. And then, of course, like I mentioned, all of these feedback loops and continuously gathering and acting on customer feedback to improve your campaigns.
No, and yeah, Leslie, I mean, you mentioned that, some of these things they might have heard of already, but, we all need reminders. So,
True. Yeah.
it's still valuable because like I would read back to basics books on different concepts, and I
Yeah.
always learn something from them.
True.
Right. So this is still pretty valuable, I
Yeah.
would say. And
I do want to. I know you love metrics and stories, so I want to tell you guys my favorite example, and maybe you guys can take this and run with it.
yeah,
But it was an ABM direct mail approach. It was multi-channel, but it had a direct mail component of it, and they were. I think this one was to like poke the bear, like wake the dead, right? It was like a wake the dead play where deals were stalled. And so they sent a custom fortune cookies in a box with your brand on it. And each cookie had, like your brand colors and all that stuff. But inside the fortune cookie were ROI stats, was that customer evidence.
Wow.
And it was really cool. It was like a nod, and then, you gotta do the puns, right? So it was a nod to what their fortunes would bring working with the
I love it.
platform.
Yeah.
And then when they cracked open one, it's just like another customer evidence piece after another. And the vendor was only like $13 at the time. I mean, granted, that was a couple years ago, so maybe they're inflation here, but like it was just a really great way and a fun way to get somebody's attention, and like, hey, I know you were in a sales cycle, like let's kick this back up again. Hey, did you know that we have you know this new feature, which was our address confirmation feature at the time.
Right.
So we got like a 62% response rate using that address confirmation feature. $3.3 million in pipeline was influenced from that, and 26% of deals progressed through the stage a week after the send. So it really did wake the dead, and using customer evidence. So I just thought that was
Oh, that's a beautiful story. I mean, I also love the idea of customer evidence saying, hey, it's almost like your fortune cookie saying, you work with us and your
yeah.
retention go up by 20%. Like that's, yeah, you're about to get a high hike in retention, right? Like someone is going to cause it. Yeah, that's brilliant. How do you build a team? Like you, by the way, congratulations on like life events. Heard.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'll tell everybody. So I got you're like, congratulations. And I'm like, I got laid off in July, but it's real life. Everyone's going through it right now. But I got laid off in July, and found out I was pregnant at
Right.
that moment. So here we are 8 months later, very pregnant. And I still have a lot to give to a company. I love and enjoy my fractional work with all of these companies, but my home is, I really want to make a home. And I found one. And they hired me 8 months pregnant.
Yeah.
And so giving me maternity leave. I wish I could see the comments if there are comments in this live, but I mean, you have to understand what I'm saying is that I got hired 8 months pregnant. I'm gonna go in on May 27th, probably work for 30 days, and then I'm gonna be gone for 3 months.
Right.
They gave me a head count to start building my team. Like, I'm
So I have
thrilled.
a question
Oh,
on that. Like, how do you build the team? Like now you're going to build the team. How do you build that?
yeah. So there's CMA, right? What is that? Customer marketing and advocacy.
Oh,
So
thank God for that. Like I Googled CMA and there were like five different versions.
I know.
Like literally Google results said CMA can stand for Chartered Marketing Analyst. It can stand for Customer Marketing Agreement,
Yeah.
Comparative marketing analysis, but you're saying it's actually customer marketing advocacy.
Yes. I mean, we just needed to shorten it. There's a strong community of CMAers out there, and we're constantly talking about it. So we just had to shorten it up. So, yeah. I would add a caveat there with like community, because there by no means do I think one customer marketer should do customer marketing, customer advocacy, and customer community at all, but we tend to work really close, and sometimes we'll just create a Slack community and have to manage that. But anyways, so you can split the two, customer marketing and advocacy. So customer marketing's like marketing to the customer with the results of adoption and retention. Okay. And that's all your things like your surveys, your nurture campaigns, your newsletters, your onboarding programs. So tons, no shortage of work on the customer marketing side of the house, your upsells, cross sells. Oh my God. And then you go over to the other side of the coin, which is customer advocacy. And that's marketing by your customers, and like surfacing up opportunities for them. So that's like case studies, video testimonials, speaking engagements, reviews, and really activating these advocates in order to surface up the voice and the customer evidence of it. So for this new role of mine, which I will be announcing May 27th, is I get a senior person, which is great, but that's not always the case. Like I'm telling you, because you're not in our world, customer marketing gets one headcount,
Right.
if that. Okay, especially nowadays, we're the first to go. We're been the first to get laid off. I'm trying to change that by creating those assets, like my course on how to measure the ROI of customer marketing and advocacy, and my career ladder framework, so you don't get laid off and all that stuff. I can just be on my soapbox here for hours. But yeah, so I do get a senior headcount, which is so exciting, and community is going to be a big driver here for this particular. This is a late stage company. They have other. I know this is like a roundabout way of saying, but it's just really hard to answer because it's just what is important to the company right now. The advocacy piece and the community piece is going to be what's important here at my new company. But in other worlds, I think it has to be someone driving advocacy, someone driving those like campaigns for upsell, cross sell, and other just activation, just making sure that people are sticky inside of the product and adopting your product. So it was a long way of saying that, but there's so many things you could do. You
No,
get so creative.
Leslie, like if I had to summarize this, right, it'll basically be like a lot of times your customers are your biggest advocates.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just spend enough time
Yep.
getting them to be your advocates. It's like it's not going to be like they're jumping out saying, take a testimonial, take this. You
Yeah.
have to ask. And a lot of companies are guilty of not spending enough time with the customers saying, hey, just ask them. You don't like they say, right? Like you don't get till you ask. And a lot of companies just don't focus enough on that.
Yeah.
Right. And what you're saying is if you have a good customer ad like CMA, customer marketing advocate role,
Yeah.
their job is just saying, stay close to your customers, happy customers, get them to give you the material
Yeah.
because that can demand, like that can drive growth.
Yes. There's something key that I wish I would have been told a long time ago was okay. So I call myself the CMA Soulmate because I know exactly what these people are thinking. All of these asks are coming at you from like sales to product marketing to even the CEO is like, I need this, I need this, I need to talk to this customer, this type of customer, blah, blah, blah. And naturally, you want to protect your customers. These are your advocates and your babies, and you don't want to overwhelm them. And you're sick of asking the same people, for these things. So first creating that like strong pipeline of advocates that's automated coming through. I have a course on that. DM me if you want that. I'll give you 11 ways to kind of automate those people through the funnel. But then another thing is like shifting your mindset, right? Like it is an art. The positioning of asking is like a total artwork, but it's also a mindset. So if you're always thinking that you're bothering the customer, then you gotta change it up. You gotta change your mindset up. This is an opportunity for the customer. Okay. You're getting them in the spotlight to share their knowledge and to show that they are a subject matter expert. And it's our job to believe that.
Right.
And you get to highlight the exposure and credibility that they'll gain from being featured. And if you just switch up that mindset, it really did wonders for me. I made the ask like it ain't no thing. And if you don't want to take the opportunity, then I'm going to go ask the next person.
On that note, I think we are at time.
Oh
Leslie,
no.
like fun talking to you. And honestly, I think the customer advocacy role is highly underappreciated from a GTM perspective. But it's so important, like, creating that content and everything. Best of luck for the new role. You're doing a swell job by passing on the message and promoting the message.
Yeah.
So
Thank
great.
you. I'll continue the fight.
Thanks, Leslie.